Gone Summer, which is a documentary about the Mark McGwire, Sammy Sosa home run race of 1998 that a lot of people credit to bringing baseball fans back, right? The 1994 strike happened. The World Series isn't played for the first time in 90 years. A lot of fans are upset. A lot of fans are jettisoned. They don't come back to baseball when they resume in 1995 because they're so upset that the players and owners could not figure out salary, could not figure out dollars and cents, and because the baseball season was stopped, literally dead during the season. August, boom, no more baseball is played. Doesn't resume the rest of the year. A lot of people were turned off by baseball back in 1994. And the home run race in 1998 with Mark McGwire and Sammy Sosa is credited with bringing a lot of those baseball fans back. For the most part, that's what got the national interest of baseball back. That's what got a lot of fans back. So I'm curious because the path we're going down with baseball, there will be baseball in 2020. It's not the baseball, and maybe the amount of games that we like to see or the legitimacy that goes along with it, but there will be baseball in 2020. So I'm curious, if you're upset as a baseball fan, like I am, if you are almost maybe turned off by the sport because you see they're fighting over money in a time when there's, obviously a pandemic going on, in a time where unemployment is skyrocketing, a time when there's social unrest and a lot of anger and frustration from a lot of people, not just in the country, but in the world. I'm curious, if you're turned off by baseball, if you are not going to be into this season because it's short, because of the publicity of how the negotiations went, what can baseball do to get you back as a fan? I'm curious. I have a few suggestions. I'd love to hear yours as well. We have Sean Devaney, NBA reporter for Heavy.com, and also Forbes at 9:40, so just about a half hour from now. Because also over the weekend, you had rumblings from players led and spearheaded by Kyrie Irving, basically urging players not to play. Boycott the Orlando season resumption, and he said use your platform to help promote social injustice. Maybe if you feel worried that you're going to get sick with the coronavirus, don't play. And Kyrie Irving, of all people, is the one spearheading this movement of trying to get players, trying to galvanize players to push back and boycott the Orlando plan. So we'll get Sean on here, and again, just about a half hour or so to discuss, is the season truly in jeopardy? Because if you think about it, if enough rank-and-file players, which make up the majority of the league, if they say we're not playing, you're not going to play 3-on-3 basketball. Doesn't matter if LeBron James and Kawhi Leonard and Giannis Antetokounmpo want to play. Their teammates don't want to play. We're not having a basketball season. So we'll get Sean on here to discuss, is the NBA season truly in jeopardy? And off that, what is the best way for NBA players to use their platform to raise awareness for social injustice? We'll get to that at 10 o'clock because Kyrie Irving thinks the best way to do so is by not playing and instead continue what players have been doing, going on marches, organizing protests, trying to get change in the streets where they are. We'll discuss what's the best way to use the platform. Of course, we have 2020 or Apocalypse at 10:20, as you know. A new contestant hoping to go 5 for 5. We'll let you know who it is, and we'll see how he does at 10:20. And finally, I wanted to get to this on Thursday. I didn't have enough time. Dalvin Cook, the running back for the Vikings, is holding out and wants a new deal. As you know, the running back position has never been any less valued than it is right now. Should he get a contract extension? Should the Vikings give him the money? We'll discuss to finish off the show. But like I said, first of all, we appreciate you tuning in wherever you're listening, whether it's on Facebook, Worldwide Sports Radio Network. If you're listening on Twitter, WWSRN_radio. It's a great time to be a listener and a fan of the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. We continue to expand, continue to get some great shows, and that's only going to improve here over the next few weeks. Our great fearless leader, Errol Marks, if you listen to the show, has called in a bunch. He is doing a great job of building this network. We have a bunch of new shows coming, so it's always important, now more than ever. First of all, we appreciate you tuning in, but now more than ever, it's important that you like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter. If you haven't downloaded the app yet, which is WWSRN on iOS or Worldwide Sports Radio Network on Android, now is the time to do so because the content is only increasing. The shows are only continuing to improve and get more shows. So the Worldwide Sports Radio Network expanding, and now's the time to get on board, jump on the train, and always stay up to date so you don't miss any of the great shows that we have coming to our network, which we will keep you updated with the names, the times, but great stuff's happening here, and we hope you're along with the ride with us as well. But like I said, so I do want to start with baseball because it's funny. And the question I want to pose here is whether you're finally on the side of the players. If you listen to this show at any point really the last few months, you've heard me time and time again defend the players. Starting with Blake Snell when he went on his Twitch rant talking about how he's not going to play unless he gets his money. He wants his, and he's not going to risk his life, risk his health for basically, a quarter of the pay that he's supposed to get. It's usually you get hazard pay. Usually you get paid more to take a risk. Well, Major League Baseball is not only wanting their players to take a risk, they're going to pay them less to do so. And over the weekend, a deal happened. News happened on Saturday that really, I think, hammers home the point. If you are on the fence, right, if you listen to what I say where I'm really backing the players and I'm taking the owners to task here, saying that they should be the ones absorbing the loss, even for one short season, because in the end, their valuation of the franchise is only going up, and they're still making money hand over fist, despite, having high payroll and everything else going on. We've had owners come out and speak publicly about how they don't make any money. And really, when it comes down to this over the weekend, timing is everything, right? That's the old saying, as we know, timing is everything. And the last few weeks, we had Tom Ricketts, the owner of the Cubs, first talk to ESPN, basically saying how the teams don't make a profit. All of the money after the expenses are taken out, all the revenue that comes in after the expenses are taken out, all that money goes back into the team. Mr. Ricketts says, as an owner, we give that money to the general manager, say, how can you make our team better? Then Bill DeWitt last week fouled that one up, the owner of the Cardinals, by going on local radio 590 The Fan in St. Louis and basically saying baseball is not that profitable. Owning a team is not that profitable. So lately, it started with the players speaking out, right? Speaking of their frustrations, and a lot of people turn on the players. Obviously, again, starting with Blake Snell, a lot of people were turned off by Blake Snell, a millionaire himself, and a lot of millionaire players complaining that they're not going to make a lot of money when, again, unemployment is high. We're in the middle of a pandemic, and social unrest is occurring. Get on the field and play. Take your $500,000, take your $1 million that you're going to make this year, go out on the field and stop complaining. But now, I think the tide has slowly been turning, in part because you see the owners now speaking and basically trying to cry poor. And I've hammered that home again week after week after week. But like I said, timing is everything. Because Saturday afternoon, in case you missed it, this is what happened. The rich got richer. MLB, and obviously their owners, signed an extension with Turner Sports. And that extension will start in 2022. They will get paid $3.29 billion, with a B, $3.29 billion to continue their rights to broadcast games on Sundays and also to have basically half the playoffs. They've been broadcasting the NL playoff series on their network, on TBS. Turner is now signed an extension for $3.29 billion for 7 years starting in 2022. Averages out to about $470 million a season. So timing's everything. 2 weeks ago, you have Tom Ricketts saying that, all the profits, all the money they generate, which isn't a lot to begin with, he claims, goes back into the team. Then you have the Cardinals owner, Bill DeWitt Jr., comes out and say baseball is not that profitable. And then what happens after Bill DeWitt says that? 5 days later, after he says those words, baseball is not profitable, the industry itself is not that profitable, MLB and the owners, which they're getting the money, signed a $3.29 billion deal with Turner. And it gets better. It gets better because guess what? Turner isn't the exclusive home for nationally televised baseball games, right? You have ESPN Sunday Night Baseball. You have ESPN Wednesday Night Baseball. Fox has the World Series. 3 national networks that broadcast games and playoff games throughout the Major League Baseball season. So if you go back, Fox had their extension back in 2018. You know what that extension's worth? Because again, remember, they have the World Series, the exclusive rights to the World Series. They paid $5.1 billion. And it gets better. It gets better. Because ESPN now has their deal with Major League Baseball, and their rights are up after 2021. So you just got $5.1 billion from Fox 2 years ago. You literally, 2 days ago, the ink is barely dry on a $3.29 billion deal with Turner Sports. And you're about to make hand over fist and get somewhere in the neighborhood of between $3 and $5 billion from ESPN when their deal ends in 2021. So all 3 of those networks combined, Turner, Fox, ESPN, Major League Baseball brings in about $1.55 billion a year from those 3 national networks alone. $1.55 billion per season just from the national television contracts. Think about that. And think about that the next time you have owners, whether it's Tom Ricketts, whether it's Bill DeWitt Jr., whether it's any other owner that wants to come out and speak and cry poor about how they have no money. Remember, they are bringing in $1.5 billion a season just to have their games nationally broadcast on Fox, on ESPN, and Turner Sports throughout the regular season and the postseason. And not to mention, let's keep going with timing because, like I said, timing's everything, right? What else happened on Saturday? That was a big one for the owners. What else news-wise came out that put another feather in the owner's cap? Guess what? Saturday night, the Major League Baseball Players Association, the organization themselves that is frustrated, that is fighting to not get a second pay cut, mind you. Remember, they're already taking a first pay cut, or they're going to get paid just the amount of games they play. So if you play 50 games, you're going to get paid for 50 games. If you play 75 games, you're getting paid for 75 games. So they already, even if they play 82 at the most, which they're not going to, best case scenario, Major League Baseball players would lose half their salary in 2020. But guess what? As we saw, the deals keep getting pushed on the table. MLB Player Association puts out a deal. MLB rejects it. MLB puts out a deal. The Player Association rejects it. Guess what happened on Saturday night? Hours after this Turner deal was announced for $3.29 billion, MLBPA, led by their head man, Tony Clark, threw in the towel on the negotiations. They said, we're done. These offers that keep coming in are nowhere close. And we're not going to negotiate anymore. Tell us where we have to play, when we have to report, and how long the season is going to be. Because the latest owner, the last offer that Major League Baseball offered the players, 72 games with a 30% pay cut. And if the playoffs are finished, and it's contingent on the World Series getting played and finished, players can maybe then you can get 10% more. So if everything goes perfectly, you'll get a 20% pay cut. You'll make 80% of what you're supposed to make if the postseason is finished. And in Major League Baseball, the players are fed up. They kept saying, we're not playing, we're not taking a second pay cut. And MLB owners kept throwing out pay cut, pay cut, pay cut, pay cut. And the players are frustrated. They threw in the towel. So guess what? Not only did the owners win by getting a massive deal, and then going to win again in 2 years when they get another massive deal from ESPN, not only are they continuing to set the bar for TV contract negotiations, now they got what they ultimately wanted with the season. They wanted a short season. They had no interest in 82 games, in 76 games, in 72 games. They got what they wanted with a short season, whether it's 48, whether it's 50, whether it's 54 games. So they got their cake, and they're eating it too. Because guess what was in the back of the owners' minds this entire time? All these negotiations going on, right? Every show we're talking about the new proposal from the players, new proposal from the owners that keeps getting rejected. And what the owners were leaning back on, what they knew was their trump card in the end, was that no matter what happens, if a deal ultimately does not get done, baseball is guaranteed to get played. Because let's go back to that March 26th agreement, right? This is the agreement that no one can agree upon what the parameters are and how they should go about it. So March 26th, let's just take you back really quick, give you a quick refresher. The players and the owners signed an agreement saying that the players will take a prorated salary for basically the amount of games played. So if there's 82 games, the players will get paid 82 games. And they signed away with that. Now, there's a clause in there that says if fans aren't allowed in the stands, which is going to be the case this season, that gives the owners and the players the right to go back to the negotiating table and negotiate a new deal that will financially be okay for the owners and the players. Basically meaning, if there's no fans in the stands, the players have to, in the owner's mind, take a second pay cut. But also in that agreement, it came down to if a deal cannot get done, right? If a new deal can't get done, if a new agreement can't come together where the owners and the players can't settle on a number, whether it's a cut percentage or whether it's the number of games played, Rob Manfred, the commissioner of baseball, can unilaterally decide how many games there are, assuming and as long as the owners pay out the prorated salaries for the players. So Rob Manfred, if the owners agreed, let's say the season was 60 games, if the owners agreed, sure, we'll pay the players 60 games, then we'll give them their full prorated salary, Rob Manfred has the power as a commissioner to implement a 60-game season. So the entire time the owners and the players were negotiating, the owners knew in their back pocket, guess what? Rob Manfred's on our side, and whatever season he decides to implement is going to be a shorter one than what we're proposing. So they could propose 76 games with massive pay cuts. They could propose 82 games with massive pay cuts, knowing, one, the players won't take it because they don't want a second pay cut, and two, they knew that in the end, deal doesn't have to get done because guess what? We're going to get our way in the end. We're going to have a short season. If we can afford to pay players, 50 games, we're going to do it. We're comfortable with that, so we shouldn't be incentivized to get a deal done. Think about it. The owners were incentivized not to get a longer season done because they knew in the end Rob Manfred would unilaterally decide, okay, listen, as long as you guys agree to pay the full freight, we'll play a shorter season. So while we don't have the exact number of games yet, the owners, the players, and us fans should prepare for a 48-game season, a 52-game season, a 50-game season, or maybe from the numbers I've seen, the largest or the longest season would be 54 games. So these proposals were dangled in front of us, like 72 games, 80 games, all dangled in front with pay cuts that the owners put in there knowing the players wouldn't accept it. You'll play 82 games. You don't play 82 games? Here's a 30% pay cut. Oh, you don't want it? Okay, we'll try again. Here's a 25% pay cut. All of these deals, if you break it down money-wise, basically equaled playing 50 games. And, that doesn't make sense, right? I'll try to lay it out like this. If you play 82 games, let's say a 30% pay cut, that money you add up is guaranteed to be the same as 50 games with a full salary. So in the end, all the money that the owners kept trying to give the players, all these deals of longer seasons with pay cuts, all equal to be the same amount of money that it would be if you played a shorter season. So why would you play, if you're a player, 75 games for a salary that you would get playing 50 games? I understand you're a player, you want to play. But think about it. If your boss offered you a deal where it said you would get the same amount of salary whether you played 50 games or you worked, let's say you worked 5 days a week, right? Okay, you're going to get salary, you work 5 days a week for this month. Or I could say, here's a bigger sum. But you're going to have to take a pay cut. You're going to basically, in the end, it averages out to whether you work 5 days or not. I understand now I'm thinking about it, that was a terrible analogy. I apologize. I lost myself there. But essentially, what the owners were doing was offering salaries that equaled 50 games. Would any of you work more for salary that you would get if you just work less? No. So it's on the players, for them it makes sense. That's why they're so frustrated, because every single deal, for the most part, the money would equal out to about the same they would make in a shorter season. So now, whatever season we have, and whatever, the MLBPA put a final date on it of today, where they want the owners and they want Rob Manfred to basically announce what the season length is going to be today. That's the deadline they put. We'll see if it happens. But now, owners will pay just about 31% of salaries that they're supposed to pay in 2020 if the season was obviously normal, if we didn't have a pandemic going on. Players are about to get 30% of their 2020 salaries. And you know who loses outside of just the players, obviously? The fans as well. Personally, I'm emotionally drained. I'm exhausted because these are good negotiations. Oh, we could get 80 games. Oh, we could get 75 games. Those still feel legit. In the end, all those proposals were shams because they knew the players wouldn't take it. And in the end, they knew that no matter what happens, if the deal's not going to get done, we're going to have a short season for salaries that we can afford. So might as well just try to play the game, try to tell everyone, oh yeah, we're trying our best. We want a long season. And they put these deals out there that make no financial sense for the players. So that's why the owners got their cake in 82. They got a massive deal from Turner on Saturday. They saw the MLBPA wave the white flag on Saturday night. So now not only are they padding their pocketbooks, padding their wallets the next 10 years of these massive deals, and we'll do so again when ESPN has to renegotiate their deal in 2 years. They're paying the players less salary and basically saving 70% of the payroll that they would have paid in a normal season. And here's the best news of all. Here is the topper that, as fans, you should get so excited for. Being sarcastic here, we get to do this all again. If you have followed these negotiations, if you're a baseball fan and you've just been frustrated, if you've been upset, if you've been angered with the way both sides have gone about this, guess what? I have great news for you. The CBA, the collective bargaining agreement, the agreement that basically that sets what the parameters are going to be, that sets what the salary is going to be, and basically is a work contract saying we'll play, and here are the parameters that both the players and the owners agree upon. That expires after the 2021 season. So guess what? We're going to do this all again after next season. And it's going to probably be a lot worse than it was this year. Because guess what? The owners can lock out the players. And who knows if a deal is ever going to get done. If a deal couldn't get done in the direst of consequences in situations here, where there's a pandemic going on, employment is through the roof, and fans are clamoring for, without a distraction, fans are clamoring for sports to come back. And the owners and the players could not get a deal done. While the owners time and time again continue to make money. sign massive deals, even during this entire pandemic. It's going to be ugly when real negotiations have to happen after the 2021 season, and who knows how long we could be without baseball for. So that's why I want to ask you, or why I start with the question. Do you finally see why the players fought the owners so hard? Are you finally on the player side? Because they fought hand and fist. They didn't want to take a second pay cut. They didn't believe the owners when they said they'd lose money. I still don't believe the owners when they say they lose money. You have owners coming out saying it's not a profitable business, and then they go sign a $3.29 billion deal for 7 years with Turner Sports. Well, please, Bill DeWitt Jr., please, Tom Ricketts, and any other owner that wants to speak out, please keep lecturing us. Please keep insulting our intelligence when you say that baseball is not profitable. When you say there's not much of a profit there. When you say that you really don't make that much money. Please, I implore you, keep on telling us that. Keep trying to play a sympathy card, because guess what? No one believes you. And your actions and timing speaks louder than words. You get a great, great deal. And again, we, the fans, lose because now we'll have less and less baseball, which is exactly what the owners wanted. So let's get your thoughts. Do you finally see the player side, right? Again, I've been on their side since day one. Has this signing this deal, the owners did with Turner Sports, $3.29 billion, just days after the Cardinals owner said there's not much money in baseball, it's not that profitable. Do you finally see what the players, where they're coming from? Why they're so frustrated with the owners? Why there's so much distrust? And why they didn't want to take a second pay cut? And why they didn't believe when owners said we don't turn a profit at all. So let's get your thoughts. And I'm curious because this time has been, again, emotionally draining. It's been exhausting. I'm curious, if baseball's turned you off, even though there's going to be a season, it's going to be a very short season. If you're already turned off, if you're already frustrated about baseball, what would it take to bring you back? I'll discuss it, and we'd love to get your thoughts when we come back in the morning, boys, right here on the RTF Sports Radio Network.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. It's time to wake up with the Morning Boys on Worldwide Sports Radio Network. And here's your host, Ryan Hickey.
Baseball, man. That's all I got to say. I feel like it's the only sport where this always happens. There's always some sort of disagreement. And while the NBA, although the last few days have been a little interesting, the NBA at least is on the right track to resume. The NHL so far has gone off without a hitch. I mean, players are on the ice skating again. The NHL is trying to get back in business. The NFL so far is going business as usual. And then there's baseball. The only sport right now that should be going on cannot get to any sort of agreement. And now we'll have Rob Manfred unilaterally basically tell these two sides you can't get along. You're going to play 50 games and you're going to like it. And I think that's us, the fans, are the biggest losers there. So I'm curious now, if you're on the fence about whether to support the players or the owners, if you're on the fence or maybe you supported the owners. Right? I work at CBS Sports Radio as a producer. I was working this weekend, and I was shocked because one of the shows I was working yesterday basically asked the same exact question. Do you see where the players are coming from? Do you finally understand why they're so frustrated with ownership as the owners complain about being poor and then sign a massive deal? And there's a lot of people, I could not believe it, and came out and supported the owners. They came out and still defend them, even after all these claims of making no money. So I'm surprised. So I thought, for the most part, a lot of people would understand, or not understand, but a lot of people would see the viewpoint of players and kind of back them. There's a lot more support for ownership than I thought. So I'll have to get your thoughts on if this latest deal at all has swung your support, swung your decision-making back to the players when it comes to the players versus the owners. But we're going to get baseball. It's definitely going to be not great. I'm interested to see the interest level, which brings me to my next point that I'd love to ask you about is, does baseball need to win you back? And if so, how can they do that? I think last night is very appropriate in timing, and we talk about timing is everything. Timing is everything. Because last night, ESPN ran their documentary about Mark McGwire and Sammy Sosa. There we go. About their home run race in 1998. And that home run race that went on is credited with bringing a lot of fans who were turned off by the sport in 1994 after there was a strike, of bringing those fans back. National interest was back, right? Baseball was America's pastime for a long time. Like 1994 really burned a lot of people, really got a lot of fans upset and turned them away from the game. And this home run race in 1998, where Mark McGwire hit 70 home runs, Sammy Sosa hit 66 home runs as they pass as they passed the, as they both set the new home run record for a single season. This was credited with bringing a lot of fans back. So I'm curious because it's not that we're not going to have baseball in 2020. We're going to have baseball. But it's going to be a short season. It's going to be a season, in my view, that's illegitimate. And after these negotiations were so public, after we saw the distrust and really, honestly, the hatred between the players to the owners and the owners to the players, I'm curious, does baseball need to win you back? Are you so turned off by their inability to get a deal done, despite really dire consequences calling for baseball to be played? In a sport that really has struggled to expand and capture the young audience, they have the perfect opportunity to do so in a time when there's no sports currently. We had golf on this weekend, which was great. And you saw the interest level in golf for a tournament that I bet you if there was a normal year, if 2020 was anything unlike it is so far this year, people wouldn't be caring as much as they did yesterday. But people, including myself, were watching yesterday's golf match like it was the Masters. Baseball would have the perfect platform opportunity to get a lot of fans back and grow the sport by playing and coming to a deal. And instead, by the time they return, it's going to be close to the NBA return. It's going to be close to the NHL playoffs. And honestly, these negotiations have played out so ugly in the public that I'm curious if you've been turned off. And if so, what can baseball do? Because right now, in this day and age at least, the home run is too popular. Still, back in 1988, the home run was exciting. We didn't see it that often. You had Roger Maris's 61 home run for a single-season record stand for a long time. And that was something people wanted to see broken. And again, having the chase with McGwire and Sosa both, at each other's throats, at each other's necks about trying to be the first one to break the record. People were really into it. But today, I think it's different. It's home run or nothing. So I don't think a home run race to try to pass Barry Bonds' record of 73 home runs in a single season is going to do it. For me personally, I think financial progress, financial transparency would go a long way in the end to getting fans back to baseball that have been turned off, getting fans to trust the owners, and maybe even trust the players if you've been upset about the player side more than the owner side in these disagreements. And I think it would go a long way in trying to bring fans back and getting them back to loving baseball again for the purity of the sport. I think that starts with two things. One, I personally do think it starts with the owners opening up the books. Let us see the financials. Let us see these proposed losses that you talk about year in and year out. How you complain about baseball's not profitable. How you complain that you have no money to spend because you have no money in your own pocket. Put it out there. Put the financials out there. Let us, the public, see what you're truly making. Do your expenses truly outweigh your revenues? Because if so, I think the public, and including myself, would have a different view on what is going on if we knew truly the losses that were occurring. But we don't, because we don't believe the owners. There's a massive distrust, not only from the players, but I think also it's starting to form from the fans as well. So one way to fix that is by being honest, being transparent, and being open. These are our books. This is what we make. This is what we lose. As you can see, we don't spend big money for a free agent. It's because we literally don't have it. We could say we don't have it, but not many people believe billionaires when they say they don't have money. I think opening up the books would go a long way to healing the player-owner relationship, healing the player-fan relationship, and I think we'll get everyone on the same page to work out a deal, not only now, but in 2021 and the next deal that's going to happen after that. And another idea that would personally for me, again, I didn't lose baseball because I'm still a fan. I'm one of those fans that would be a fan for life. It's going to be very hard to kind of jettison me and not have me be a baseball fan. But I'm very upset. It's been very frustrating to see this play out and to see what's going to happen with this season be basically a sham, be basically a joke. Another suggestion, I think that, again, it's going to take a lot, but it will go far in trying to repair this relationship with the players. How about a salary floor? We know that the players don't want a salary cap. What about a floor where teams have to spend this amount of money year in and year out? Free agency is almost a barren wasteland right now. If you're not the top of the top, if you're not a Bryce Harper, a Manny Machado, a Mookie Betts, who's going to be a free agent after this season, you're not getting money. And if you are going to seriously take a discount or take a decrease in salary for what the open market should call for and what your talent calls for. Because teams don't have to spend. Teams can go cheap. If you draft a player, if you bring him up from the minor leagues, they're there with you for 6 years. So would you rather have 6 years of players making close to the minimum salary? Would you want to pay a 30-year-old who still can play, but higher salary just because? A salary floor would prevent a lot of these teams from basically not spending money, slashing payroll, and not making free agency a barren wasteland that it has become. It's a scary place. And now if you're a player with any sort of talent and a team offers you any sort of extension, you take it. Because you have no clue what the free agent market's going to call for. And if anything, you're being devalued by the day rather than have your value increase. So why I would go financials and what I would want to see change to help me bring, kind of help me, not bring me back, but maybe feel better about baseball, is because that is the one area that the players and the owners could never agree upon. The distrust there is at its maximum. So if you can do something to fix that up, to shore up some trust, I think that would go a long way in getting not only myself back fully trusting the team and fully trusting baseball, but bring me back as a fan totally. So I'm curious, have you been turned off by baseball? If you were frustrated with the way negotiations are going, what would it take to bring you back? Would it be a home run race? Would it be increased financials? Would it be changing the way the game is played? I'm just curious if there's something out there that you would like to see baseball get done. If you were upset as a fan and you want to come back, but you want to come back when you see this change happen or that change happen. So if you want to let us, if you want to contribute, if you want to give your thoughts on Facebook or RTF Sports Network, shoot us a tweet, WWSRN_radio. If you're on Twitter, shoot me a tweet, Ryan_Hickey, the number 3. We'll get those thoughts. And when we come back, is the NBA season in jeopardy? Is the Orlando plan not even going to get off the ground? We'll explain and we'll discuss with Sean Devaney of Heavy.com and also Forbes on what Kyrie Irving's doing. He's trying to urge the players not to play. Is the NBA season truly in jeopardy? We'll get Sean's take when the Morning Boys Ryan Hickey return right here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. It's time to wake up with the Morning Boys on Worldwide Sports Radio Network. And here's your host, Ryan Hickey.
And welcome back into the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. It's been very, very baseball heavy for this show, as obviously over the weekend, Major League Baseball and their owners not only signed a new deal with Turner Sports that is worth $3.29 billion, the Major League Baseball Players Association threw in the towel and saying, we're done negotiations, tell us where we have to play, when we have to play, and we'll be there. So there's one league that has had trouble getting off the ground here, and a league that we thought for the most part would be set sail, would have, come back smoothly here. And now there's some questions, is the NBA. Because also over the weekend, not only do we have what's going to happen in Major League Baseball, there's some interest in possibly sitting out the rest of the season in Orlando that's really getting spearheaded by Kyrie Irving. So the question is the NBA season in jeopardy of resuming? We'll discuss this with the great NBA reporter for not only Heavy.com and Forums. It is Sean Devaney. Sean, thanks so much for giving us a few minutes here. How are you this morning?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
We appreciate it. And like we said, we thought for the most part that the season was going to get going. And all of a sudden now you hear this movement led by Kyrie Irving talking to players to basically urge them not to resume the season in Orlando, try to boycott this assumption in order to use their platform to help social injustice. But I'm curious, Sean, timing-wise, why now? I mean, Kyrie was part of the Players Association that voted to approve the plan, right? No player disapproved it. It was voted 28-0, so it was unanimous. So why are the second thoughts kind of happening now after the deal was signed?
It's a good question. And, I think a lot of owners and certainly Adam Silver are frustrated by this, that if these concerns existed, then why weren't they raised a week ago? Why are they coming up now? So that is certainly something that on the the team side, there's a lot of frustration with. I think with a lot of players too, there's frustration that if this was going to be an issue, if this was going to be a threat to coming back, then why haven't we been talking about it before? There's the great bulk of players do want to go to Orlando and play. The number of players that we're talking about, there are 80 on the call on Friday. And not all 80 of those players would sit out. We're probably talking more like in the 25 to 35 range in terms of players who might not want to go. And the league is certainly prepared to continue without those players. But at the same time, it's a bad look, and players are raising some real concerns, certainly on the health side. I think the social justice side, in terms of Black Lives Matter, things like that, the league is going to try to find ways to accommodate, players being able to express themselves. But it certainly doesn't seem, and LeBron James has been one player on the side of this, that by playing, that doesn't really affect your ability to speak out on these issues. So, there's a lot of frustration, both in terms of owners, both in terms of Adam Silver, and also in terms of the players who do want to play in Orlando at the end of July.
And Sean, you wrote a great article in Forbes earlier this week, and really, you kind of highlight there's a rift that's going on between really the star players in the NBA and everyone else, the rank and file guys that maybe don't have their voice heard, maybe don't have their opinions heard, but they are the majority, almost a silent majority, if you will. Is that more is that truly, you think, the crux of the issue here? That there are more, a lot of these players that aren't getting their voice heard, or do you really think that maybe social injustice is a cause that they truly want to give up their season for, and maybe even give up some serious financial benefits in the future for? Is this rift, I should say, the driving force that maybe is being veiled by social reform?
Yeah, and that's not to say that there aren't players who are legitimately concerned about social reform and would give up the rest of the season in order to focus on that. But in general, this has been led by Kyrie Irving and Avery Bradley, and I think Avery Bradley's sort of the more typical player who this message reaches. That's because when you look at the way that all this was done on the player side, it was pretty much negotiated with the stars. It was pretty much, LeBron James had a conference call back in May with Steph Curry and Giannis Antetokounmpo, Anthony Davis, some of the Russell Westbrook, some of the biggest and best paid players in the league, and they kind of came together and said, we need to speak as one. We need to be unified in our desire to come back, and that's great. Those are the star players. They have a lot of money at stake. For the rest of the players, there's much less at stake in terms of their financials. Avery Bradley will make something like $4.5 million this year. So if he goes back and finishes out the season, he's going to make probably about $300,000, whereas LeBron James, if he goes back and plays those final 8 games, he's going to make about $2.5 million. So there's a lot more at stake for some guys than there is for other guys. And so when Kyrie Irving and Avery Bradley started talking about this, I think they really struck a chord with the players who kind of said, everything has been led by LeBron and his little group, his cohort, and we haven't been listened to. Social justice is one of the reasons, but there's also health. There's also, concern about the COVID-19, about whether personnel at the hotels that they'll be staying at can come and go. Are they going to be bringing in coronavirus? There's a lot of other concerns, but I think the main thing is that you have this great mass of players that doesn't feel its voice has been heard really in the last few years, that it's all been sort of the star players that have been driving the league.
We're talking with Sean Deveney, NBA reporter for Heavy.com, also Forbes. Follow Sean on Twitter at Sean Deveney, Deveney. So, Sean, I'm curious, why is Kyrie then the guy that is kind of lending his platform, lending his voice to the silent majority that we'll call it, right? A lot of these rank and file players, because he falls in the star category. He's the one who benefits from all of these discussions. He's the one who kind of gives his opinion that weighs more, like I said, being one of the stars. Why is he the one that's kind of giving the voice now to a lot of these players?
It's a good question, and there's some debate about that about why exactly Kyrie is doing this. Does he feel marginalized in terms of the way that the other stars have been driving this, and he's not really part of that. That could certainly be part of it. It could be just purely that he does believe in the cause of social justice, and certainly he's not a dumb guy. Sometimes he gets portrayed as a space cadet or somebody who lives on another planet, but he's not a dumb guy, and I do think he knows what's at stake here. It could cost him about $30 million if the league shuts down this year and they go into a lockout, which is a possibility. The league, if they shut down this year, the league has the option of declaring of tearing up the collective bargaining agreement and forcing a new deal, and if that happens, then everybody's contract as they stand, those contracts get ripped up as well. So it could cost Kyrie as much as $30 million. I'm sure he understands that. So this has to be something that he's taking seriously, because he stands to lose a lot of money if, in fact, the worst case scenario comes to be and they don't play and they wind up in a lockout next year.
The saying is, Sean, follow the money, right? Wherever the money goes, that's where that's where you think a lot of decisions will go. So I'm curious, so how catastrophic would it be then? 'Cause like you said, if they don't play, if they don't resume in Orlando and the players do end up boycotting and the season doesn't get resumed, the owners can rip with the CBA. And basically, from what it sounds like and what we read, it's going to be really catastrophic for the players financially, not just this year, but going forward as well. Is there really any financial justification for boycotting, rallying together, and not playing in Orlando?
Well, I mean, if you're seriously worried about the health aspect of it, and you think that you're just going back for money, and you're not taking seriously the fact that somebody could get sick, and that this thing has the potential. It might be a small percentage, but it has the potential to kill somebody. If that's the reason, then it's hard to argue with that. At the same time, this could be financially catastrophic for the players. If in fact they don't go back and play, if they cancel the season, the league is able to use what's called force majeure, which is a legal term that basically, because there's a pandemic, the league is allowed to tear up the CBA and start over. And if that happens, the players are going to have to negotiate from a position of weakness, because there won't be the same amounts of money. TV contracts will get torn up. Everything's going to get torn up, and they're going to have to start from scratch. For players, that's going to mean giving up a lot that they've worked hard in past negotiations to ensure that they have. That's not going to be a great situation for them. So there is a lot at stake. Like I said, if you're serious about Black Lives Matter, if you're serious about the health aspects, then it's obviously becomes a very, very difficult decision. But financially, you can see why there's some motivation to take the risk and go out there and play.
Talking about Sean Devaney, NBA reporter for Heavy.com and Forbes. Does great work there. So, Sean, you just kind of mentioned it. Players are legitimately interested in Black Lives Matter movement, and they've done so far a great job at raising awareness and use their platform for good. So I'm curious, does it make more sense to me? Is playing basketball, resuming the year in Orlando, is it a better platform for them to raise awareness? We've heard players, namely Dwight Howard and others, kind of voice their concern that the message will be lost once the play gets started, and then we'll be talking about box scores rather than really what matters. Does it make more sense? Is the platform bigger for these players to promote social justice, promote change while playing basketball, or would it be better served kind of, continuing what they're doing now in their hometowns, in their cities, leading marches and trying to change form from the ground?
I think back to, when Trayvon Martin was killed in Florida. And what the Miami Heat did, how they all came out in hoodies, and that became a national story, and that raised awareness further. I think about when Eric Gardner was killed in New York. He was killed in sort of the same way as George Floyd in a chokehold sort of situation. And players came out and they wore the "I Can't Breathe" shirts, which is what Eric Garner was saying, as he was killed. Those sorts of things. That raised awareness. That probably did more to raise awareness than tweeting or going on Instagram Live is going to do for players. So I guess I don't understand necessarily the argument that that going back and playing is going to take away from the message. I think it'll amplify a message, and a lot of players feel that way too. You know, LeBron being the most prominent among them. But I can't argue with Kyrie or Avery Bradley. Maybe they have a different viewpoint on that. It just seems to me in the past that that the NBA has been able to use its platform to deliver those messages pretty effectively, and not having basketball out there or having basketball out there, I'm not sure it really changes the impact of the message. So I guess I don't necessarily see the argument of not playing because of that. I think you can still do both things at the same time.
It's a great point. I'm with you there, Sean. Like I said, especially now when we see the ratings through the roof on sports that we normally wouldn't watch. Just imagine with the NBA, that platform, how many eyeballs are going to be watching. It's going to be, like you said, no better way to kind of spread the message as well as continuing to play basketball. So, Sean, I'm curious because, like you said, obviously one of the issues that the players are concerned about is social reform and that message getting lost. The other part, as we mentioned, is health, right? The coronavirus, we still don't really know too much about it. A lot of players, a lot of staff will be in Orlando in one spot. There's questions about the bubble. Is part of the issue, is there's too many teams, is 22 teams too much to be brought back, where maybe if it was 16 or maybe even 20, would maybe these concerns be eased a little bit? Is part of the uneasiness because there's too many teams coming back?
No, I'm not sure about that. I think no matter what the number of teams that they brought back, there would have been the same concern as far as that goes. And there's two ways of looking at it. And I talked to a coach last week who put it this way and said, where I live, they're opening things back up. So you're going to have more people circulating. You look at these photos of people on the beach and nobody's wearing masks and everybody's close to each other and all that sort of stuff. And his point was, where I live, if we're not playing, then it's going to be, much more dangerous than being in the Orlando bubble where I'm getting tested every 2 days and sort of set off from the way everybody else is trying to come back from this thing, maybe too fast in some cases. So, the coach's point was that he actually feels safer being in the bubble than being out in the world because things are opening up. So that's something that I think everybody has a little bit of a different opinion on. But there are some people who, like I say, I'd actually feel safer in the bubble than out in the so-called regular world.
It's a great point. When you think about it like that, right? It's everything's right there medically for them to be as safe as possible compared to if you're in your hometown or your team city where, like you said, everything's opening up. And as we see, unfortunately, some of the spikes have gone up in some cities. That's interesting. A good point to mention there. But Sean, also, I'm curious. I guess the final concern, maybe, and this is obviously the smallest concern for at least choosing groups of players, is some are ready to cash in this summer. You have guys like Jason Tatum, Don Mitchell lined up for some massive extensions if their teams want to give it to them. But there's some injury risk, and there's some question marks if they resume after sitting on the couch for 4 months and then going right into a high intensity playoff series and regular season per se. I'm so curious if we could put you in the body, let's say Donovan Mitchell or Jason Tatum, would you feel comfortable if you had a big extension coming up in a few months? Would you feel comfortable resuming the season in Orlando with the injury risk that's possibly out there?
Well, again, like you've got to think of the big picture, right? Because if you don't go out and play, then at the very least the salary cap is going to take a serious hit, and your contract is going to be based on the salary cap, so your contract is going to be that much lower. Or, as we talked about, the worst case scenario is they tear up the CBA, and then you just don't have any contract. So, you can certainly be concerned about the potential for an injury, but at the same time, if you don't go out and play, there's you're not getting anything. So, it's a really difficult decision. You see, a lot of discussion about insurance. I think that's probably going to be the answer for this. That getting insurance is going to be the best way to handle this somehow. But yeah, certainly for those guys who are going to be free agents who were sort of counting on the fact that they'd get something along the lines of a max deal, that's going to be a big concern, because you get an injury and all of a sudden that max deal might not be there. Having said that, the other thing too, though, is that what injury could you possibly get that would, if you're Jason Tatum, you're going to get paid? If maybe a torn Achilles is the only thing that could affect that. Even if you tear your ACL and you have to sit out for a year, you're still going to get a max deal. You just are. Look at what Kevin Durant, who's coming off. He had an Achilles injury and he's 31. He got a max deal. So, if you're one of these guys, I understand the concern. At the same time, you're still going to get paid. You get some insurance. I'm sure that'll all work out.
We'll finish up with this, Sean, and this is the billion-dollar question per se, right? Obviously, we know LeBron James, Giannis, James Harden, all these big stars want to resume. They want to play. But ultimately, I mean, if the majority of these rank-and-file players don't want to play, we won't have a season. So do you think ultimately season will come down when we'll be playing in Orlando in about a month and a half or so?
I think the question is going to be how many players can rosters lose and the NBA still say that's okay. We can just replace those guys. If you have, on the Lakers, for instance, Avery Bradley and Dwight Howard have been the most outspoken about not playing. If you have to replace those guys, does that still count as the Lakers? Is it still the Lakers, or is it some, kind of offset replacement team, like almost in a strike year or something like that? How many players can the NBA afford to lose and still have it be a credible season? Like, you can say, okay, that's the Lakers. If they were to lose Kyle Kuzma too, would it no longer be the Lakers? And I think that's going to be the question going through here is, who can we afford to lose, and how many players can we afford to lose and still have what would be considered some kind of legitimate tournament, playoff tournament? That's going to be the question. I think that there won't be enough players to deter the league from going forward with this. But if you start getting at least 2 and maybe even 3 for every team, then the league's going to have to reconsider. So that would require about 40 or 50 players. If you get 40 or 50 players on these 22 teams who don't want to play, then I think the league's going to have to cave and figure out the next step. But if it's something in the range of 20, I think the league will say, all right, we'll go ahead and play.
That's interesting. Definitely something to keep our eye on these next few weeks, like you said. Now, you start counting the players if they don't want to play. Like you said, it adds up, and what that magic number is for the NBA to just say, we'll pack it up, we'll see you in 2020, 2021 is going to be very interesting to see how that plays out in the next 2 weeks. Sean Devaney, great NBA reporter for Heavy.com and Forbes. Follow Sean on Twitter at Sean Devaney, Deveney. Sean, thank you so much for the time. Really do appreciate it. Hopefully we'll see basketball in about 6 weeks. Yeah,
I look forward to that, but we'll keep our fingers crossed on that.
Absolutely. Thank you again, Sean Devaney, NBA reporter for Heavy.com and Forbes. A great follow on Twitter. You can find all his work. And like I said, I highly suggest you read his Forbes article highlighting really the rift between the star players and everyone else, which, as Sean hit on, could be a driving force as to why these negotiations have been, or at least why these concerns have started to kind of come to the surface and boil to the surface here with a lot of rank-and-file players. So one point I want to that Sean hit on, I want to discuss next. How can NBA players best use their platform? Is their platform best used to resume the league in Orlando to get their message across about social injustice? We'll discuss whether that is the case or whether Kyrie Irving is correct and these players should avoid Orlando and try to continue to social justice, what they've been doing on their own. We'll discuss what the best way is when we come back. It is the Ryan Hickey, or the Morning Boys Ryan Hickey, right here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
You're listening to the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Edward Lehman has been a trusted insurance advisor for over 16 years with insurance solutions for auto, home, commercial, life, and retirement. He's located at 54 Sunnyside Boulevard, Suite H in Plainview. That's just 1,000 feet south of 495. Local agent, local advice. The time to think about insurance is before you need it. So do yourself a favor, and before you pay your next insurance bill, give Ed and his team a call, 516-935-3900, or visit him online at www.allstate.com/EL. Edward H. Lehman Insurance is your trusted insurance advisor.
Hi, this is Terry Crews. Actor, former football player, game show host, father of 5, and all-around big dude. I'm also an expert on drama. I know all kinds of drama. There's the good kind that comes with having a house full of kids. There's the bad kind like season-ending injuries. There's the necessary kind like having an agent in Hollywood. And there's silly drama like the drama around my percolating pectorals. And then there's the drama you can skip.
Skip the drama that comes with not having your high school diploma or equivalency. Find free adult education classes near you and finish your high school diploma. Visit finishyourdiploma.org.
Or text diploma to 97779. Message and data rates may apply. Reply STOP to opt out. That's diploma to 97779. And leave the drama to actors like me.
Brought to you by the Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. It's time to wake up with the Morning Boys on Worldwide Sports Radio Network. And here's your host, Ryan Hickey.
We appreciate Sean Devaney again jumping on here talking about the NBA.
The snow is melting and it's starting to warm.
Is this for the new commercial?
This is the new commercial. We're recording. Why is it you always cut me off?
Guys, calm down. Let's just start it over.
It's too late. We have to start our show, which is Twist, the weekend sports talk, where you can hear banter like this with sports and interviews. Hear us on the RTF Sports Network, Mondays at 8 Eastern. Also, like our page on RTF Sports Network and check us out at rtfsportsnetwork.com.
Are you looking for some sports talk with some New York flair? Join us next at the 2 p.m. hour with Down to the Wire with your host, Earl Marks.
In times of need, this is what most insurance sounds like.
Thank you for holding. What's your policy number?
But when you have coverage from AAA, you've got insurance with 3 A's. And that sounds like this.
Thank you for calling AAA. Is everyone okay?
So does your insurance sound like insurance? Or does it sound like insurance with AAA, a brand that's been helping members for over 100 years? Visit AAA.com/insurance for a free quote on auto and home coverage.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Great moments are born from great opportunity. And that's what you have here. That's what you've earned here tonight.
Forget about the crowds, the size of the school, their fancy uniforms, and remember what got you here. If you put your effort and concentration into playing to your potential, to be the best that you can be, I don't care what the scoreboard says at the end of the game, in my book, we're going to be winners.
On this team, we tear ourselves and everyone else around us to pieces for that inch. We claw with our fingernails for that inch because we know when we add up all those inches, that's gonna make the difference between winning and losing.
It's Down to the Wire with Errol Marks and Speedy Petey.
Oh, Petey!
On the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
And we are back, ladies and gentlemen. This is Down to the Wire. We are live every single Monday and Tuesday from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. New York Eastern Time. Remember, you can call us at 631. What's the number, Speedy, over here?
New number is 631-260-1601.
As you guys know, you can follow us by going to our website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. And, guys, if you haven't downloaded our wonderful app, all you have to do is go to the iOS, WWSRN, and on the Android Worldwide Sports Radio Network. Speedy, how was your weekend?
It was good for the most part. My cousins came over yesterday. We had a little barbecue. Made one of your favorite foods. My uncle made lamb, which I know is one of your favorite foods.
I love lamb.
Yes, it was delicious. It was absolutely delicious. And then